Josh, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we're gonna do a little interview here. So first off, I'd like to ask you just about you outside the studio.
Okay.
Tell me something about you and who you are.
I think probably one of the most interesting things that a lot of people may not guess is I was involved, or still am involved, with competitive drifting, which is like sliding the cars through a course. I've done that for the past 10 years, and recently taken a step away from that to focus on another pursuit and love, which is acting. But yeah, I've been drifting and competing in that since 17. So like right after I got my license, I learned how to drive stick shift on a track, basically. So yeah, I was like,
How'd you get into drifting?
funny enough, I actually saw that Fast and the Furious movie.
Okay.
And then saw like, oh, that's really cool, but that can't be real. And then went to YouTube, saw like a lot of the Japanese like street drifting videos, like all the illegal stuff. And then that led me to the illegal competition side of things. And I was like, oh, this is a real thing that you can do. Did more research, found out that America had its own pro series, and they were coming to my hometown of Atlanta. So I was like, all right, cool, got to go get tickets. Started talking with them and found out that it's one of the easiest motorsports to get into. Like for its baseline, you can't just go and do NASCAR. You can't just go and do F1s, millions of dollars. But with this, $1,500 and a rear-wheel drive vehicle, and you can go drift and have fun and start learning.
So that's fascinating. So it wasn't like your family was a part of drifting. It was just something you wanted to do. You pursued it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody that I knew in my family even did like mechanic work or were even involved in vehicles in any way. Like I don't know, they weren't like car guys. I didn't have like a car guy type dad to look after. The closest thing to like a father figure was my grandpa, and he was into like woodworking and stuff like that. So that, I don't know, everything was very like hands-on and building and creating things with tools. So that kind of helped, like learning the woodworking side kind of translated into like metal side as well.
So your grandfather was into woodworking?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
He was also he did like military police in the Marine Corps, and then later a lot of like different police, just police work down in Florida.
Do you mind if I ask about your dad?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so my real dad, I never met. He was out of the picture right after I was born. And then yeah, it was just me and my mom for, I believe, like up until I was about 13 or 14. And then my stepdad came into the picture, and he was a great man, but he came at a point where I was already kind of formed in a lot of my thoughts. So so yeah, what my stepdad was able to provide was very good, but it came at a point after. So I was very much raised by a single mom.
Yeah.
And grandparents as well.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that? Was that hard? Was that tough growing up in that atmosphere, or I guess you didn't know any different, or yeah.
Yeah, it yeah, like you said, it didn't know any different. Didn't seem different when I would ask friends like, "Oh, what are you guys doing tonight? Oh, we're having like a family dinner or something," or like, "Dad's gonna take me to go play yada yada." My mom would go and take me to sporting events. I would do like baseball and basketball and all that stuff. So my mom was like playing both roles very well. So yeah, it didn't feel like I was lacking in any point.
You know, you I don't know you very well, but from the time we've spent together, you seem to have a good head on your shoulders, and you're pretty put together, and it interests me. I've read a couple books on this, and I've had some good friends of mine whose father maybe passed away when they were younger, and that experience can go one of two ways, but
Definitely.
it does seem like if you choose the path of light, you're sort of forced to grow up quicker, and you don't have that extra, dad to do the certain thing, so you have to do it for yourself, so you figure it out earlier, which in a way actually gives you a little bit of a head start over a lot of other people, because they're not used to being responsible, and you're like, I've been responsible since I was 6.
Yeah. My mom worked night shifts, and a lot of time during the day I was only child as well. So there was a lot of time where my imagination had, I had to rely on that a lot with like Legos and stuff like that. So I was very like self-sufficient and would cook for myself, and all this stuff at like a young age, and kind of came true.
Yeah.
There's a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episode that I hold very dear to my heart, where Will Smith's character, his dad, comes in, and it's like at the end of the episode, and it always brings me to tears because it's so relatable, where the dad comes in for a minute and then ends up leaving, and Will Smith goes on like a monologue about like, well, I didn't need him to learn how to do this. I didn't need him to learn how to like do X, Y, and Z, and I'm gonna be a better man than he ever was. And that was kind of like getting emotional even talking about it. But that's kind of like that's fuel to know like that's what not to do for sure.
Yeah.
You don't leave that.
Yeah, you just gave me chills. I was a fan too. I remember that episode very well, and that was Will Smith making a difference in the world already at a young age. He's always had such a heart for being a light out in the world, and that was him being willing to be vulnerable in a time when you didn't do that on shows like that. And here you can see, and this is what I always tell people as an actor: if you do it right, for the right reasons, you have a chance to impact the world at such a large scale. Which is where we're heading, is where we want to surround ourselves with people who want that thing. That's a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing all that. I appreciate it. Because I always think to myself, your story now, because you're willing to share and be open, that's going to help somebody else, and they see that they're gonna hopefully grab onto it and make the choice that you're making, the choice of light, which is hard, but they're going to make it. They're going to say, oh, someone else can do that, so can I.
That's a huge motivation for me, is that I have a story, and I know I needed to hear Will Smith say all that and go through that. I know I needed to see that when I did, and I'm hoping that I can do the same for somebody else. That would be really cool.
I promise you already are. So let's move forward. So how did you come to find this place, and during Acting Studio and acting in general? So you're a drifter. I think that's where we left off in your story. So how did we transition over to here?
So basically, I think 2016, I had a local like production company, like 2-man crew. They were going to follow me around for 1 year of competition, and just kind of do like a docu-series. And I thought, oh, this is really cool. This is my first time like in front of camera. I didn't really want to do that, but I wanted to make things. I know I wanted to like do videos, and I really wanted to do like skits. And I ended up talking them into letting me write and direct a couple skits that we could throw in just to kind of mix things up, so it's not all serious, like, oh, we're checking tire pressures and yada yada. So we could have like fun with it, and found out that I had way more fun doing the skits and writing that and directing that and trying to figure all that stuff out than I did with all the outside things that came along with racing. So I knew that I love driving. Not a huge fan of the work that goes like around that. I love making content, and I really love the work that goes along around that. So, and that's the majority of it. So I kind of realized that I don't really enjoy this as much as I thought I was. I was just doing it because I'd been doing it for 10 years. And I realized I don't really love everything about this, but so far I love everything about acting and making things. So I was like, I think I need to change. I need to make a switch.
And so, I always look at this. I have friends who are extraordinary in niche areas, who are so successful. And I love those stories, because I tell people you can be successful at whatever you do as long as you're the best at that thing. Right. And so here you are, you're already in a niche area, actually, because people probably thought to themselves like, oh, I couldn't be a drifter, like that couldn't be something I do, and then you're doing that. And then you find this other path because of the love. I think that's amazing. Same thing happened to me actually in college. You heard that story. Yeah. So
it's a great one. You should say it again.
Well, no, I don't need to say it now. It was a turn of fate. So I'm doing one thing, and then through trying this other thing by sort of accident, you hang on to that, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like this is what I should be doing all day, every day, because I love it so much. Yeah, that's great. All right, cool. So so since you've been here now, how would you say the studio has impacted your life outside of the classroom?
Immensely. I came in, like, I think a lot of people come in to the studio wanting to, I don't know, just get over like social anxiety and stuff like that, or maybe get better at public speaking. And that was my intent. I wanted to see, because the commitment to this craft didn't scare me. I'd committed 10 years of my life, and I'd moved cross country for drifting. So I knew I could commit to it if I loved it. So my main goal was to see if I really loved this new thing. So expectations super low. I knew nothing about this, and I was here to learn and not be good at it. So there was no pressure on me that I put on myself to be a certain way or perform at a certain level, because I knew I was starting at ground zero.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways that helped me.
I think that's huge, because a lot of people do come in with those expectations and trying to prove themselves to a certain extent. And as you know, when that is the case, we have to strip that first before we get to start, you know. And so at least you came in with that mindset, which is great.
For sure.
So basically you came in here to figure out, do I love this thing, right? So when did you know?
Probably after the first class.
Really?
Yeah. It was not what I expected, but I didn't really know what I was expecting. I was, you know what? I actually do know what I was expecting, and it wasn't very good. And it was nothing to do with anything that I heard about the studio. I knew this was an award-winning place. I knew this was a really great place to be. So like, let's go here. But the people in the class, I didn't know. I'd never been around an actor before. I'd only heard stories from outside sources. So like, oh boy, all right, I'm going to be dealing with like huge egos, and there's going to be a lot of like little politics kind of dance around, is what I thought. Yeah. And then I came in, and it was an immediate family, and everybody said hey and welcomed me to the class. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess that's just really good.
Yeah, you know, really we've been fighting those stereotypes since day one, since we opened, and it's unfortunate, because there are a lot of places that have egos, and there are a lot of places who actually take advantage of people, you know, good people who have dreams, and they just take advantage of them. And so from day one, we've always tried to strike this balance of fun, love, professional, all mixed into one, and fight every stereotype that people have. And the hardest part is because that stereotype is louder than we are right now, anyway. Right. And so when people walk in, not yourself in general, but when most people walk in, the first thing we have to do is change their mindset. So and depending on how hard that is to do, it depends on if they're going to stick around or not. Because until it clicks for them, you know, we don't know if people are going to stay or not, because if they're looking for the stereotype, they're not going to find it here.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think Daring definitely has a really, really lovely balance of feeling like a family, but not so comfortable that I think there's a bad thing with being too comfortable. You guys have a really good balance of welcoming, but also pushing. Yeah. Like we're gonna still push you, but it's okay to fail. Type of deal.
Yeah.
It's a good balance.
Welcome. Let me shove you off a cliff, and I'll catch you at the bottom.
Yeah. Well, I was already at the bottom. You didn't
repeat.
For sure.
All right, cool. So next question for you is, how has the studio influenced your process mindset as an actor, or as a person, I guess, since you weren't really acting before?
Yeah. I'm a very technical person. I love learning like the formula of things, like we were talking about. I think that came from my music past. I was a percussionist for many years, and still am. And percussion is just math, and it's a formula. And then you get into like jazz percussion, which is the artsier side, and everything doesn't have to be as precise, which is a lot of fun. And that's kind of what this is. From day one, I was taught script analysis, or at least the foundation for that. And that's been all that I've known, was learning how important script analysis is, and getting those foundation blocks before you make the step forward.
Yeah.
or make that next step, I should say. And then, yeah, so it's been a lot of fun for like the technical side of me to really like analyze everything and try to break everything down and justify every little thing. And then for the artist in me to kind of throw that out and do the jazz percussion thing and just kind of dance with it and art with it and trust that the work was put in to catch you and you have a good foundation to dance on, you know.
Yeah, that's a really great analogy, the percussionist and the jazz percussionist. Because that's exactly the whole idea of that we're founded on right now anyway, in our own growth, because we're always evolving ourselves. But right now, that's where we sit, is this idea of the technical and the letting go.
Yeah.
And you have to just, you know, you have to find that unique balance, because you can't just rip it on the instrument without any of the technical skills to back it up.
Yeah, you're just hitting, right? You're just smacking things, and without the technician, we're just saying words up here. So yeah, I definitely like that comparison.
Yeah, as well. That's very cool. All right, this is one of my favorite questions. So if you could describe this place in one word, what would it be?
Good. I think the first thing that came to my mind was exhausting, but I feel I need to justify that and explain myself. I like being exhausted. I like the feeling of having a hard day at work and accomplishing things. I love that feeling. And for me, it's the work, and it's enjoying the work and knowing that there's a reward from doing the work. And I think I wrote down, it's exhausting in the way that you felt as a child when you're like playing on a trampoline with a bunch of your friends, and you don't want to get off the trampoline, but you're exhausted. Your legs are jello at this point, but it's just exhausting, but you're having so much fun. And exhausting in the way of like you're up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. talking with someone that you love, and you're so tired and you have so much to do the next day, but you can't give up this conversation. You can't go to bed. You want to keep this conversation going forever and ever and ever. And it's that level. That's kind of what I mean by exhausting. It's like, I don't know. That was the first thing that came to mind. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but I
love that word. Here's what's interesting. We've heard a lot of words, you know, people describing it through these interviews, but when I heard that, it was so unique and different. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, interesting. And then when I read it, I thought, yes,
cool.
We want people to feel that way. You know, my philosophy personally is I'd like to set up tomorrow always to be some sort of an obstacle, some sort of a journey, if you will. You know, so like when you're going on a trip, what do? You set your clothes out, you plan the day, you pop out of bed because you know you have this journey to go on, right?
Yeah.
And you don't even need an alarm. You just get up, right? Yeah. So I believe every day should be that way. Yeah. And I try to set up the next journey before I go to bed, right? And then I don't feel satisfied at the end of the day if I haven't earned my pillow.
Earn your pillow.
And that's that exhaustion thing you're talking about, because you want to be at the very end of what you could give and then give a little more and then pass out. And then you get this deep sleep and you wake up with that new jolt of energy the next day for the next adventure. Yeah. You know? And again, my philosophy is that if everybody treated every day as if it were a journey, as if it were a trip, because it is, you know, and it could be your last. Yeah. You know, you're not going to regret popping out of bed. You're not going to regret making connections and doing things that are uplifting, you know. You might regret, you know, playing video games or, you know, wasting a day away or whatever. So just to be careful about how often you do those things, and even just schedule it, you know, because obviously you need time off, but just make sure that you're regimented about it and you're honest with yourself about wasted time.
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely think that's a much needed side of it, where you allow yourself those treats, as it were. But yeah, definitely, I don't think anybody wants to be on their deathbed feeling ready for it.
No,
you want to go out.
But a lot of people do.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, And you know, then this could be, you know, this could be our message of love that we get to send to some people too, is this inspiration of
lovely wake up call.
You know, get up, wake up. That's right. As soon as you start waking up, it's a big difference.
Definitely.
Cool. All right, last question for you.
Okay.
If you have any advice for someone who might be curious about acting, or just have thought about this, or they're scared to do it, what might you say to that person?
Do it. All right, it's like this thing where you're standing at the edge of like a diving board and you hesitate for a second. Chances are you're not going to go off. It's like you think about it too much and you won't do it. And what I've been listening to a lot of, that's really helped me kind of realize, like, your inner voice sometimes isn't your voice. A lot of times it isn't your voice. It's a lot of other people. It's your parents or your friends or people online that are saying, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you should do that. Or that's a stupid thing. You shouldn't chase that. And that's not your voice. That's everybody else's voice for you. Mm-hmm. And they say that one snippet and they go on about their day. But that you hang on to that. And that might affect your entire life. You might not take a foot into an acting class because of somebody's just like, nah, I think that's stupid. And then goes about their day. Right. And doesn't give another thought about it. So it's really focusing on what you want and just doing it. The worst case scenario, you meet a bunch of cool people. Yeah. Like that's the worst that would happen. And best case, you fall in love with a new craft.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you for your time today.
Cool. Thank you for having me.
Great interview. Cheers.
Cheers.
We've been ending every interview with a cheers.